and we'll dive right in. So if we could do some introductions, because I do see some new faces, that would be amazing. I'll go ahead and start. My name is Valerie Ratliff Parker. I'm with Public Charter Schools of New Mexico. I'm currently the interim executive director, and I also have Melissa Fox and Christine Wilkins with us. So if Melissa, you introduce yourself, please, and Christine.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting us come to your meeting today. I'm Melissa Fox, the grant manager at PCS&M for the CSP grant. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having us. Christine,
I had to unmute myself.
sorry.
Good morning, everybody. I am with PCS&M as well, and I am the CSP grant fiscal coordinator. So I'm just here for observation mostly today and to support my team. But welcome, you guys.
Thanks, Christine. And Ted, if you want to kick it off and then
Sure.
go now.
My name's Ted Farneth, and I'm the Technical Assistance and Training Administrator here at CSD. And joining me from CSD is Mr. Greg Boots.
Hello. I'm one of the authorizing practices administrators, and I will be assisting you once you cross over, hopefully in a good way to having your school. So it's great to be here, guys.
And then Valerie, did you want all the schools to go to introduce themselves or no?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, anyone feel free to go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Ortiz, and I'm with one of the founders for New Mexico Space Medicine and Bioaerospace Institute. And one of my other team members, Sunny's son, he had to step away for a second, but I'll go ahead and pass it to our other founder, Ms. Juliana. She was just there, or there she is, Miss Juliana.
Oh,
I don't know.
There. Am I?
There she is.
Hi, I'm Juliana, with Lisa and Sunny, and we're just excited to listen to all this.
Great. And Lisa and Juliana, where would your school be located?
It will be in the northeast part of Albuquerque.
Okay, thank you. And sorry, a little bit more since this is our first time meeting.
Oh, okay.
What grades would you be?
No, that's okay. We will be servicing students from 6th through 12th grade. We're looking at middle school and high school. Not only are we wanting to serve within our own local area here in Albuquerque and surrounding areas, but our future is the whole state of New Mexico and beyond, based upon our curriculum that we're implementing with, of course, the curriculum from New Mexico PED, but also through the Space Foundation and NASA as well.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can go next. I'm Radi Abul Hassan. I was here last year, and I'm happy to see you guys again. I'm with Andalusia Charter School. It's going to be located in Albuquerque. We're still debating the exact location, but most likely it's going to be in the Midtown area. Our school is a project-based learning school with the intention of preparing students for both career and college. We're capitalizing on the rich history of New Mexico, specifically with the Moorish impact to New Mexico, to investigate, to help students be involved in project-based learning, integrating social studies, math, engineering, and generative AI to create very rich and interesting experiences for high school students. It's going to be 9th through 12th grade school.
Thank you, Roddy. It's great to see you again.
I'll go next. Hi, I'm Laura Jepson. I'm one of the founding members of High Desert Virtual Learning Academy. We are hoping to apply as a state PEC for grades 4 through 8. And with a focus on evidence-based practices in literacy and math, hoping to support students statewide, catch those students who are struggling in a traditional environment and give them the support they need for job readiness and career readiness.
Thank you, Laura. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
I can go next. My name is Angela Feathers. I am proposing a Montessori charter in Santa Fe, K through 8 with the preschool component not authorized by PED. And just excited because this has been a long journey and hopefully this is our year.
I can go next. My name is Andriana Mylord. I am proposing a school called Albuquerque Prep, focused on our student athletes, getting them college and career readiness through project-based learning and learning by doing, to give them exposure to careers within the realm of athletics, so business, law, healthcare, and serving grades 5 through 12, focusing on middle school first and then growing into high school, and serving students that are throughout New Mexico that have a passion, again, for athletics. Located in Albuquerque, not exactly sure exactly where we'll be in Albuquerque, but working on that right now. Because what we're doing is serving student athletes, so we have to have the space in the facility to not just cater one group of athletes, but all athletes. Really excited, and we're looking to be a state charter.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you. And good to see you too, Angela.
I can go next. My name is Becca Naahe. I'm with a bunch of students. This actually started out as a capstone project with a bunch of students that wanted to build a new school. And but we put a notice of intent in with a group of co-founders, and it's going to be hopefully based in Zuni, New Mexico, and serving K through 12 students with a starting enrollment of 120. And the model is based on a decolonial approach of going back towards language and culture, the Zuni people or Pobo or whatever they say they want to be true. So it's a community-led model, but it's great to see you.
Good to see you too, Becca.
I guess I'll go next. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Chavez. I am, I'm soon to be retired superintendent and former PEC commissioner. I just don't know how to slow down, so I thought, hey, let's just open a charter school. And so I'll be one of the founding members for the Community Leadership Academy, which will be located in Deming, New Mexico. It'll be a K-8 charter school, but we'll be starting with the middle school grades and then moving backwards. So it'll be hopefully a three-year implementation to get to K-8. It will be project-based, but really focused on leadership development. And so like a couple of my colleagues have already said, learning by doing, and feel very strongly about that, along with the leadership emphasis. So thank you.
Great to see you, Mike. Fred's the same way. Can't stop. Doesn't matter if you're retired or not. You just keep going.
Hi, I can go next. My name is Numair. My other team members actually were going to be here, but anyhow, we're focused on hands-on learning with earth and architecture and renewable energy as our focus, and we would be based in Bernalillo County.
Thank you, Numair. Good to see you again.
My name is Murad Hijazi. I could go next if that's okay.
Yeah.
And we're founder of the High Tech Academy. We're preparing to open in Bernalillo County. We're looking still on building, and we're trying to find a building that will fit our needs. And we are going to be a hybrid school. It's going to be online, in person, and hybrid, so people can just pick up their schedule. It's going to be serving from 6 to 12, and we are trying to open in Bernalillo County till now, but that's it about it. And we are trying to communicate with the UNM to implement some our projects on there. So it will be research more to the kids. That's it.
Thank you, Mura. Appreciate it. I see two more, Ted. Diankang Soon and KB00.
Yeah, we have two more schools that so far we haven't heard from.
KB00 is Kevin Banks. I'm here supporting Mrs. Mylord. I'm actually representing the facility aspect of what she's going to be doing. The field house is here in Albuquerque. We have 72,000 square feet of athletic facility along with outdoor space. So I am here in support of Mrs. Mylord.
Very nice. Thank you. And then our last guest on the screen.
Diankang Sun?
Oh, that was Mr. Sunny, the one that I mentioned, one of our team members. He had to step away for a second, but he'll be back shortly. So that was the one that I was introducing, one of our other founders.
Great, thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
if I heard everybody correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it helps us get a good understanding. Everybody is looking to be a state authorized charter school with the exception of Angela, who's looking for local authorization in Santa Fe. Did I get that correct?
Well, we're still debating where we haven't decided yet. We're going to be a state or district.
All right. I remember that from last year already. So trying to decide whether you're going to be a state or locally authorized charter school is actually a bigger decision than you would think. So we have there's some differences between the two authorizing agencies. And then, you know, whether you like it or not, politics is always involved. So it's how the relationship is with the local authorizer and their beliefs about charter schools and all of that. So definitely something to consider. We're not biased either way. We will support you. Doesn't matter how you're authorized. For Public Charter Schools of New Mexico, so we are our main purpose is to be a support mechanism for all charter schools in New Mexico. So we are the only statewide advocacy association. So our main purpose is to advocate and support charter schools. And it's been around, public charter schools has been around for a long time. We've had amazing connections, resources, people all over the state and the sector. So we are here to support you. We have weekly collaborative calls with our leaders, and we are a membership association. So our members do pay dues, and they come to our leadership calls every Tuesday. It's a virtual call on Tuesdays from 1 to 2. And all of the leaders come together on the screen for an hour and talk about what's going on, because charter leadership is a very isolating role. So you're in it and you really try to figure it out. And this offers a support for all the chartered leaders to come together and a community of practice to problem solve and see what they can tackle together. We also provide a lot of trainings. We have governing council training. We have mentorship programs for charter leaders. We have our legislative recap, which is coming up in March. So we just got finished with the 30-day session. We'll bring all the members together to go over what legislative changes have happened and what the governor signed and how that's going to affect the schools. That could affect some of the virtual schools. I heard a hybrid as well as a virtual platform. So we'll see how that legislation kind of plays out with that as well. That was very dramatic. And then we also offer a conference every year. And then we have some services now that are available to non-members. So you don't have to be a member of Public Charter Schools of New Mexico to benefit from all the things that we can offer, because we are now the holder of the CSP grant. So the CSP grant and everything that we can do to help build up the charter sector is also available to members and non-members. And those are through additional trainings as well. So that is an example of that is in April, we're going to have an operations day that's available to both members and non. And that operations day, it's like a mini conference. It's a one-day conference that'll cover HR, facility, finances, budget, and that's open to everybody, anybody in the sector, whether they're members or not. And that's free. So you just have to show up and go to it, and it'll be in Albuquerque, but we'll send that information out if you all would like to come. We would love to have you there. I'd love to meet you in person. And then you can get those little session trainings on food services, transportation, again, operations, human resources. We'll have, gosh, we have so many people coming in, and just resources and knowledgeable people to offer those trainings. So that's PCS&M. There's so much more that we offer, but that is kind of it in a nutshell. I'm going to share a presentation now to walk through the CSP. And we've had the CSP grant since 2023, but I'll walk through that and we will also send out this slide deck as well as some follow-up trainings and office hours and contact information that you all can follow. So this is for you for round 4. We are now in round 4 of our grant, of a 5-year grant. So we're getting through it. We've had a lot of experience and pain points and learning points along the way. So now that the UDO schools are going through this, hopefully we'll have more support for you as you go through it, as we see the struggles with the new schools that are opening up. So our agenda for this presentation, we went through the introductions. We'll go over the CSP grant, the application process, kind of what it looks like with the funding, and then we're available for some questions and answers. This is very high level. We will go way more in depth into when we go into the mandatory trainings. So I'm not going to overwhelm you all too much today. The PCS&M and New Mexico CSP. Again, we're an advocacy support association, but we also now hold the CSP grant. So we're 2 entities in one. And our CSP personnel, I'm now the program director for the CSP. Matt Paul, our executive director, he has taken a new position with Pacific Fusion so that he can spend more time with his kiddos. And we're currently looking for our permanent executive director, but that search will continue through June. In the meantime, I'm holding this ship steady and then also serving as the program director for the Charter School Program Federal Grant. So 3 jobs at once, which you guys will be used to that kind of life. Our grant manager is Melissa Fox. She's introduced herself and she oversees all things with the grant, helping you manage it, set goals, all the things that are needed for making sure that you have a successful grant implementation, as well as Christine. Christine is an amazing fiscal coordinator who will help you with the RFR reimbursements and anything related to allowable expenditures and walking you through some responsible federal spending. So the high overview of the CSP grant, the Department of Education, they provide this grant to state agencies. They also provide it to CMOs, which is a charter management organization, which are not allowed in New Mexico. So that doesn't really apply here. All charters in New Mexico are standalone charters, which means that's why we don't have a KIP or an IDEA or any of those larger charter management organizations in New Mexico. But for state agencies, then we are the flow-through agent for the CSP funds to go out to our subgrantees. And the idea behind the federal goals, and I'm not keeping track of the chat, so if something comes up, Melissa, if you'll let me know if there's a question.
I'm handling it.
Awesome. So the goal of the grant is to create promising new charter schools in your case, and also expanding and replicating charter schools that have high quality models currently, and also to strengthen the overall sector. So that goes to a small portion of the $52.8 million that PCS&M received. Some of that portion can be used to support the wider sector. So that's where that operations day comes in and other trainings so that all people can benefit from the CSP opportunity to strengthen the sector. We do have to remind everybody that we are bound by the federal guidelines, statutes, rules. So that's been a little bit of a difficult thing to manage, if I'm perfectly honest with that particular, where you're an advocacy organization, but then also following rules, because they think, oh, well, you have the federal grant, but you're also an advocacy association. Can't you bend the rules a little bit and support us? And the answer is no, we can't, because I don't want to wear an orange jumpsuit. So I want to make sure that we're following all of the laws and what we need to do for the federal guidelines. And yes, of course, we want to support you as an advocacy support association, but we also have to make sure that we're following federal rules. The other thing I'd like to note that was very curious that came up just within the last month is there was a perception from a couple of schools that we have $52.8 million sitting in PCS&M's bank, which is not true. We do not have the funds sitting with us now. We are a flow-through agent, so we don't have the funds available to us. I have to go to the federal department through G5, request the drawdown, and then it immediately goes to the school. So I have to get all the paperwork first, ask the government for the money, and then they release the funds to us, and then it immediately goes to the school. So we're not sitting around with a big pot of money. We just ask for it, and then it immediately goes out. PCS&M's objectives for the charter school program grant, we have 3 of them. So our main objectives and goals are to expand the high quality public charter school seats in New Mexico. We have 28 subgrants to give away within the 5 years that we've had it. We're up to, I should have this number memorized, but I want to say 14. Am I right, Melissa? Yep, I see a head nod. So we have 14 out of the 28. So we're halfway there. So we have 14 more to go. And our target is to increase our quality seats by 7,500 since we've achieved the grant. And I think we're already pretty close. Now, that's all the schools that are saying we're going to add X number of seats because of the CSP grant. So we take those X number of seats, add them together, and hopefully we're going to get to 7,500. Now, whether there are actual butts in the seats yet, we don't know. But we know that that's what their goal was to get to increase their schools by X number of seats. Our second goal is to improve the learning outcomes for high needs students. So we do want to see, we're hoping that with the CSP grant, you can get additional resources via professional development or whatever staffing you need to help that staff to increase the learning outcomes and academic outcomes for the students, because we want our charter schools to be high quality. And the third one is to strengthen the overall sustainability of the sector. Again, that goes back to sponsoring any kind of trainings that we have for leaders, for the community, the sector as a whole, also with our authorizers. So we're just launching some new TA technical assistance for our authorizers, which is very exciting. Here's the breakdown for our subgrants for the 5 years that we have the grant. Now, I will say that we have needed to shuffle some things around because we were very ambitious in writing this application for the CSP that we would have 9 new schools over the course of the 5 years. If you notice, there's an 8 there, not a 9, because it's been, it's a little challenging to open up a new school and to get authorized and make sure that you're successful. So with the permission of the federal government, we've asked if we can move some grants around, but we're still waiting for a clear answer on yes, you can move X number grant either horizontally or vertically. So for now, we have 3 new school grants that we have to award this round, and there are more than 3 people on this call. So hopefully you will be able to be successful with this grant application. It is a competitive grant. And we have 4 expansions grants to give away and a replication grant. A replication grant is a school that would still be within the same governing body, and you're going to open up a second campus that is within the same district. So, for example, Albuquerque School of Excellence in Albuquerque, they're going to have a west side and an east side campus, but they still have one governing board to oversee both of the campuses because they both lie within the Albuquerque School District. So that's what it means to be a replication school. Expansion is an currently existing school that is adding either new grade levels or additional seats to their already existing campus. And then we have the 3 new school awards that we're ready to give away this round. Any questions on that? But if there are, you feel free to put them in the chat. Sounds like Melissa's answering those. For you all, the eligibility criteria for the new school CSP subgrants, you have to have applied to an authorized public chartering authority. So that is either the PEC or your local district. And in order to do that, you also have to notify both. So did you notify the local district, even if you are seeking to be a PEC or a state authorized school? And I'm pretty sure you have, otherwise you wouldn't be on the call, because I think they do make sure that you notify your authorizing agent before you continue. Got a thumbs up from Ted. And then the third thing is that you need to be approved. So you'll go through this entire process and you will be filling out the CSP application before you even know if you're fully authorized or not. Because if you wait until August to get the green light that you are authorized, then you would have missed your opportunity to get the CSP grant. It's a gamble, but $2 million is worth the gamble. So you want to put in your money, put in your application, and hope that you will get authorized, and the PEC and or the local district will say, yes, your application's great, you can continue. We have 2 phases for our application. Phase 1, there'll be a mandatory training on April 2nd, and we'll send out calendar invites and emails and reminders for that. That mandatory training is really just for us to gather some information from you, as well as your intent to apply for the CSP. The real application, the full application, the beast of the application that is the CSP, is what we call the phase 2. And that full application process, the mandatory training for that will be June 2nd, which is after you have submitted your full application to either the PEC or the local district. So for now, focus on your current charter application to get that completed. And then I believe, Ted, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the 1st of June that the applications are due for the new charters. Is that right?
Correct, 1st of June.
Okay. So you submitted your application for your charter on the 1st of June, and then the very next day we'll do the mandatory training so we can walk through the CSP part of the application. That way you have plenty of time to finish that. And then I'm going to switch over to our website for a second. I want to show you, in case you have some light reading, you have all this time on your hands and you want to look into the CSP a little bit more. I want to show you where you can find more information. So you can go to our website, pcsnm.org. On our website, you'll notice a tab that's called the CSP grant. When you click on the CSP grant, you'll land on this page. It does have some old webinars that you can watch if you want to go ahead and listen to some of the webinars. We've had some changes, not drastic changes, but just kind of tweaks to make it better. We're in our archive, so from rounds 1 to 3. And then we have the resources tab, which is extremely valuable. So you can look through slides of previous recordings from round 3, which we just completed, as well as the actual video, the recording of the webinar. We have the RFA, which is it's the Bible of our CSP. So if you really wanted to get all the information on the CSP, you would want to read the RFA. And then the allowable cost guide is the second Bible. So it's the cost guide. That's what's going to tell you about what's allowable, what's not allowable. And then we have the budget template as well. Our approved RFA, this one is the one that runs through everything. It's required by the federal government, so we have to stick to everything that we said in this RFA. The most important part of this RFA, because it's a pretty long document, after you get through all the federal E's, is the rubric. So that's really where I would pay most attention, is this part where it says phase 1. It talks about all the things that are going to be required and how you are going to be scored on your application by the peer reviewers. Our peer reviewers are third party. PCS&M has nothing to do with the scoring part, and we do that on purpose. We try to separate all of the scoring and decision making on who's going to receive the awards to our third-party peer reviewers. And those peer reviewers include people from other states. We have a few from Colorado. We have somebody from Missouri, and other retired people from New Mexico that are reading the applications and scoring them. And then after they're scored, then we do the capacity interview with the peer reviewers so that they can decide on who is receiving the award. If you continue through this RFA, though, There are two parts of the rubric, the phase 1, and then the meatier part is the phase 2, which I'm going to scroll down to as soon as I can find it. Okay, so here's the phase 2 for new schools, the scoring rubric, so you can see how many points are available. And then when you get down to the yellow part, this is where it really starts to describe what it is that the peer reviewers are going to be scoring. So if you were to read anything and you wanted to get more information about the CSP, I highly recommend reading this part, because then it walks through what you should put in your application. The other thing is the allowable cost guide, which talks about what's allowable, what's not allowable. It's been a real pain point with new schools to try to help them walk through what is allowable and unallowable. And then we have our budget template that you'll submit in your application as well. We've had a new school, just a quick little story, that inserted new rows and just made up their own categories. And I do have to say that you can't make up your own categories. So these are the categories that are in the CSP allowability. All right, let me head back over to our slide deck. So we have the phase 1 and phase 2 parts of our application. And to receive some additional points on your application, we do have a competitive preference priority for any school, whether you're new, expansion, or replicating. You do get additional points on your application if you're opening up a school with fewer than 5% of public school students that are attending charter schools. So we just had a new school open up in Mora, so that they don't have any charter schools there. So that would definitely be a preference priority. There was a new school that opened up in Alamogordo. They also didn't have any. Las Cruces would count, even though there are 7 charter schools in Las Cruces, there's only 3.2% of the students in Las Cruces that are attending charter schools. So technically, we had another one that had received some preference priority points because they opened up in a community with less than 5% of the public school students were attending the charter schools within that district. I do have to say, and I have to point this out, that the new school that opened up in Mora, even though they opened up a school in a community that didn't have a charter school, it didn't guarantee them the CSP grant. So you have to meet the minimum threshold number of scoring points before even applying the preference points. So it's also not guaranteed that just because you are a new school, you're going to receive the CSP grant. So that school didn't receive the CSP grant, even though they were brand new and they opened, because they didn't meet the minimum threshold of points from the peer reviewers. So they'll have to reapply again this year for the new charter school grant. So I can't emphasize enough that it's very important that you have a really good application, because the peer reviewers are going to score it. And if it doesn't meet the minimum threshold of points, which I believe is, I should know this number, I think it's 65. If I see it in the RFA, then you wouldn't be eligible for the CSP grant. Okay, so here's the timeline. April 2nd is the mandatory training for phase 1. And again, we'll send out the slide deck so that you can reference the timeline. And then on June 1st is when you're submitting your charter application, either to the charter school division or to your local district. And then on June 4th, we'll have the mandatory training for the phase 2. In July, you'll have your community input hearing for your charter application. And then at the end of July is when we're going to do the phase 2, or when your phase 2 will be due. So your CSP application will be due at the end of July. And that'll give the peer reviewers time to score your application. And again, I realize that this is before you even know if you're approved or not. But again, it's $2 million, so it's worth the gamble. For round 4, you all will be the first round that only has 24 months to spend your $2 million as opposed to 36 months. So the grants for rounds 1, 2, and 3 had the full 36 months to spend the grant money. But since we are done, PCS&M is done with the CSP grant in the year 2028, then that means you have 24 months or 2 years to spend your $2 million. And I'm sure that you will be able to spend it. It can be split between planning and implementation periods. It is a reimbursement grant once you start receiving SEG funds or you have the kids in the seats and when you open up. And back to adhering to the federal cost guidance. So we have to make sure that all of what you're requesting to use CSP grants is allowable. The biggest thing that has come up with new schools, there are 2 big things that have come up with new schools that we've unfortunately had to say no on. Anything having to do with capital improvements. So this is not a grant that you can use to acquire a facility. So you can't build one, you can't add any kind of construction to a facility or any kind of capital improvement to the site. So this grant is really meant to fill your building. Furniture, equipment, curriculum. It's all the stuff that you could physically put on a trailer is how I like to describe it and drive away with it. And then some people say, well, technically I could take apart a portable, put it on a trailer and haul it away. Yes, but that's really not what the grant is intended for. And the federal government requires us to adhere to that. And here's an example of your timeline to spend the $2 million for the CSP grant for new schools, as well as just some categories. So from the top 2 in this table, you can see you have grant year 1 and grant year 2. So your grant year starts on October 1st of 2026 because all federal grants start in October and end in September. And then it spans actually a little bit of 3 school years. So your school year, your planning year, once you're approved, would start in August, but your access to the $2 million wouldn't begin until October 2026. And then you would have through that time to June of 2027 to get ready for your school. And then once you receive the kids in July of 2027, you have from there until the end of 2028 to spend the rest of the $2 million. So here are some topics. I'm not going to go through all of these in detail. We'll send the slide deck out and we'll go into detail on all of these topics when we do the mandatory training. So next steps, we will follow up with an email to recap what was covered today, as well as a copy of the slide deck. We'll send some calendar invites out to you all for those mandatory training dates and some links to the RFA, our website, the allowable cost guide, and the budget template. And you could always reach out to Melissa. We'll have the contact information there, or Christine or myself if you have any questions. Our cell numbers are also on there. Feel free to call us. And we're super friendly, I promise. And you can ask us any questions if you have any. And I'm ready for any right now. Like if you have any just general questions that you would like to ask, I'd be more than happy to answer.
You said the grant covers anything that you can drive away with. So that means you cannot use it basically to rent a building and then with the promise of paying them when the school opens. Can we do that or no? For the rent?
For the rent, we can pay for lease during the planning period. So if you acquire a facility and you want to pay the lease or the rent up until you actually receive the SEG funds, yes, we can pay for the rent. Good question.
I'm sorry, does that apply to staffing too? Because it does say that it cannot cover staffing like during the school when the school opens, right? But can it cover staffing during the implementation, the planning year?
Yes. And the charter school division, the PEC, they call the implementation year and we call it the planning year. So you have the implementation year checklist. which we use the language of planning year, but they're the same thing. So it's basically before you actually receive students. So Roddy, yes, you can use the CSP grant for staff during that planning year, and it's after the planning year where it gets a little tricky. And that's actually the second issue that I didn't mention when I was presenting, is that a lot of new schools either try to use the CSP grant for capital outlay improvements. So they want to use it for construction or for anything that would be a permanent improvement to the facility or the grounds, like a fence or a playground installment or leveling the ground for a playground. The other one is supplanting. So trying to offset their operational funds during their operational year by paying for staff. And so those are the two areas that there's a lot of attempt to do, but are not allowed. Good questions. Anybody else have any questions? Just curious, wondering how the grant you can use the grant money.
Valerie, I have a quick question. I know you can't do use capital outlay funds or capital improvements, I'm sorry. But isn't there, you can still do things for ADA? Is that correct?
Yes, and we'll get into those details when we get into the training, the full training. But yes, to answer your question, if you found a facility, and we've had this happen with 2 out of the 3 schools, the new schools, they found a church, for example, and they wanted to convert the church into the school, and it had to have e-occupancy in order to receive the students. To get e-occupancy required some upgrades to their fire, like the suppression system. So anything having to do with life, health, and safety. So we can pay for things that will bring that building up to e-occupancy. I'm hesitant to say it like just blanketly like that, because you can't go out and find just this empty warehouse and say, well, we need to bring it up to e-occupancy. Then that's going to require a lot of money to bring just a shell up to e-occupancy. So it's within reason. It needs to be pretty close to e-occupancy, requiring very minimal renovations or upgrades to either for the fire marshal to approve it, for CID to approve it, and for PSFA to approve it. So those 3 entities.
Thank you, and sorry for taking you into the weeds.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay.
No,
we'll get into the weeds, but it's a good question.
To piggyback off that, it seems like, and I'm sorry for being late, but it seems like the spirit of the grant is for CapEx improvements. Sorry, not for CapEx improvements, but more for like student enrichment. So the things like maybe that are physically enriching, basketballs, games, stuff like that, playground sets, would that be covered, or does that lean more towards, capital improvement?
No, you can use that for enrichment. Really, the spirit of the grant is for curriculum, tables, furniture, technology, anything that's going to improve your educational program, not so much enrichment, because you can't take them on field trips with the money. So it has to be things that are going to improve your educational program, or be able for you to establish your educational program, because you're a new school. So really, it's a lot of money spent on furniture, equipment, curriculum, technology, to repeat myself. What are some other big ones?
So would professional development be something that could also be involved in that? Because I was actually going to ask that about the curriculum, the technology, and then the professional development for within your staff and everyone else. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. So professional development. The other big one that seems to get missed a lot, or has seemed to get missed a lot with the new schools, is enrollment and recruitment. So since you're a startup school, what can you spend your money on for enrollment and recruitment? And that's advertising. You could pay for consultants that are going to help you develop those advertising or marketing things. And then you could even hire one person that their sole purpose in life is to enroll and recruit for your school. And you can pay for that salary during the planning year. That way they're helping you get all the kids that you need to get.
Perfect. That was going to be my next question on that. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. These are great questions. Any other questions? I'm really excited for you guys. Can't wait to see who makes it to the finish line. All right, if there are no other questions, again, please feel free to reach out to us with any questions if you want to add. Go for it, Lisa.
Sorry, I
That's
just
okay.
haven't thought of one other one. What sustainability indicators beyond the grant period are most compelling? I know, like, we've talked about some other very important pieces, but what else could you share with us that would be most compelling? That would
Love that question. And Melissa, feel free to hop in and add your thoughts if you'd like.
Oh, you want me to go first? You're talking about
Sure.
in the application, what would be most competitive in terms of sustainability?
Yes, that would.
Okay, full disclaimer here, I don't score applications, so I'm not giving you a grade on that. I think though what would be most competitive is a really thought out plan, because $2 million is kind of a huge influx of funds that is going to cover a lot of what is going to end up being operational expenses. So a solid plan on how you're going to deramp, and whether that's like applying for other funding, or your foundation, your board is going to get together, just like a really well thought out plan on what happens, because I think that hits a lot of new schools in the face, is reimbursement, right? Because reimbursement grants are just not great. Everyone, between you, me, and the group here, no one likes reimbursement grants, but the federal government loves them. So thinking through that planning in that section of your grant would be really beneficial for you and for your reviewers to kind of understand where you're coming from about the long-term sustainability of your school, your curriculum, and your finance. Was that okay, Val?
Oh, it's perfect. And then two things I would add to it. The one is remembering that this grant is to supplement, as Ishan said, not supplant. So you want to make sure that it's to supplement your program, and it's not to catch you or to help be a little safety net for you. Oh, we can just use CSP to help us offset our operational shortfall. What happens with a lot of new schools is they're very ambitious, which is amazing. I love the heart and the feel. I'm going to get 80 new students in my very first year. And really, you may only end up with 40 or 50. And so your operating budget is a lot smaller than you had anticipated. And by default, you think, oh, well, I have $2 million. How can I use the $2 million to help me with my shortfall? Which is not how you should approach the grant, because the grant, again, is to supplement, not supplant. And what I would highly recommend and advise is spending as much as you can during your planning year. So start thinking about what are all the things how much of this $2 million can I spend during my planning year? Let me get all of my stuff, because once you get the kids and it becomes a reimbursement grant, and let's say you only have 35 kids, you projected 80 for your very first year because you were ambitious, but you only get 35. So if you get 35 kids, your operating budget is now so small, and you won't be able to front any large purchases because you won't have the operating budget to do it to get reimbursed. So try to spend all of those big ticket items and as much as you can during your planning year. That way, during your second year of implementation, it really is just those little things that you're trying to purchase to finish up and supplement your program. Those are my words of advice.
Thank you.
And if you don't have a facility yet, you buy the stuff anyways and store it somewhere else.
Okay.
Okay, great questions. And it was really nice meeting you all.
It was nice meeting you too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Valerie and company. Very useful stuff.
See you later, Ted. Bye, Greg. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
So I think this is a good time to take a bathroom break before we jump into the performance framework. So let's just come back at, let's say 9:50.